Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Our top story. President Trump says the U.S. has built China's military with money it lost through unfair trade. He vows to reach a good deal with Beijing.
We built China's military with the money that we lost for so many years getting ripped off.
The U.S. is urging China to stop using coercion to prevent foreign companies from helping the U.S. rebuild its industry. Otherwise, Beijing will face U.S. retaliation. A former senior New York official allegedly working for the CCP will soon go on trial. We have the latest update from the court and why her case matters to the U.S. government. Sanae Takaichi takes office as Japan's new prime minister, forming a conservative all-liberal Democratic Party cabinet. Abe's protégé and a known Taiwan supporter, she's calling for closer ties with Democratic allies. Takaichi will host President Trump next week and join global talks in Asia. And a human rights atrocity described as a modern-day genocide. An award-winning documentary uncovers the Chinese regime's forced organ harvesting trade.
It's a modern-day genocide.
President Trump said the U.S. has built China's military with the money it lost through unfair trade. The comment came while he hosted Senate Republicans at the White House today.
We built their military. We built China's military with the money that we lost for so many years getting ripped off.
Trump added that he expects to make a good deal with Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping.
I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. I put the full tariffs on China. And again, I have a great relationship with President Xi. I expect to be able to make a good deal with him, and I want him to make a good deal for China, but it's got to be fair. For years, they were making $500, $600, $700 billion, $700 billion, and we'd be making nothing.
Trump and Xi are expected to meet face-to-face at the end of this month in South Korea on the sidelines of the APEC summit. The U.S. Trade Representative is urging Beijing to stop coercing foreign companies against investing in American industry and warned that Washington will respond to China's measures accordingly. It comes after China imposed sanctions on a South Korean shipbuilder's U.S. branches last week. The move disrupts President Trump's plan to make shipbuilding great again.
You look at Chinese behavior, and they are on the offensive. This is something new.
China last week sanctioned 5 U.S. subsidiaries of South Korean shipbuilder Hanwha Ocean. It's a decision that went into effect immediately. The South Korean company, which owns a leading U.S. shipyard in Philadelphia, plays a key role in helping the U.S. rebuild its shipbuilding industry. The U.S. has fallen from the world's #1 shipbuilder to 19th, with the production capability of less than 5 ships, while China builds more than 1,700 ships per year. Washington accuses China of engaging in unfair trade practices in this field and hurting U.S. ship businesses. The U.S. government imposed port call fees on Chinese ships starting last week, and China fought back, matching the U.S. fee with its own. It also sanctioned the South Korean enterprise. Ambassador Greer Monday called China's retaliation an economic coercion to influence American politics and control global supply chains. The U.S. and Australia struck a new deal on critical minerals on Monday. An expert calls it a good start in the push to reduce China's dominance in the industry, but it'll take much more time and money to really build up alternative supply chains than people might think. Under the agreement, both countries are pledging at least $1 billion each over the next 6 months for mining and processing projects. President Trump said that in about a year from now, we'll have so much critical mineral and rare earths that you won't know what to do with them. Deanna Morgan, mining equity analyst at Barrenjoey financial services firm, chimes in.
It is a good start if viewed through the lens of trying to diversify away from China's dominance of it. But it's going to require years of focus from multiple governments, and is also going to require a lot of money, a lot of investment. We are likely about 5 to 6 years away from the framework agreement that we heard today, resulting in meaningful production across multiple projects to diversify these supply chains. it's a bit of a North Star for the industry. There's an anticipation that this will be the start of inking many more agreements that would fall under the framework.
How does this U.S.-Australia rare earth deal fit into efforts to deter a more assertive China in the region? Steve Yates, former Deputy National Security Advisor at the White House, puts it into perspective.
I think that with the strategic agreement on submarines, the rare earth mining and materials, and some of the other areas in the U.S.-Australia alliance, I think that is a positive down payment on broader Indo-Pacific deterrence, but also broader Indo-Pacific prosperity outside of China. It fits in the philosophy that President Trump has talked about from the outset of making sure our allies have stronger independent capabilities. There's been pressure, sometimes welcome, sometimes unwelcome, but I consider to be necessary on allies to increase their own investment in their defense capabilities.
The U.S. Export-Import Bank on Monday announced plans to back more than $2.2 billion in financing. This could help unlock up to $5 billion in total investments. The goal is to boost critical minerals mining and supply chains between the U.S. and Australia. In recent years, the CCP's influence in U.S. government agencies is drawing growing concerns. The foreign agent case against Linda Sun is one of the highest profile, given her former senior role in the New York State government. On Monday, the Eastern District Court of New York held a pretrial meeting for Sun. NTD's Flora Hua was there for the latest update.
A landmark foreign agent case may soon go to trial. Linda Sun is a former top aide to two New York governors, including Andrew Cuomo, who's running for New York City mayor right now, and also Governor Kathy Hochul. She's accused of acting as an unregistered foreign agent for China and receiving millions in kickbacks along with her husband. The U.S. government's recent discovery, totaling tens of thousands of pages, was the focus of Monday's pre-trial meeting. Defense attorneys told the judge the sheer volume leaves them pressed for time just weeks before the trial. Prosecutors said they only recently accessed the key information from a locked iPhone and iPad after the defendants refused to provide passwords. The judge called last-minute materials normal and typical in a major case and said he could grant extra time for the defense, but he won't dismiss the case or penalize the government over it. More on Linda Sun's case. The U.S. government accuses Sun of furthering Beijing's interest while being a state official, including disclosing internal COVID-related meetings to Chinese diplomats and blocking Taiwanese officials' interactions with two New York governors. Court documents show Sun had attended multiple meetings hosted by China's United Front Work Department, a Chinese intelligence and propaganda arm. Sun's attorney argued her way to interact with the Chinese consulate shouldn't be taken issue with. He said he found at least 5 other governmental officials who handled their relationships with foreign consulates in a similar way to Sun. So he told the judge this is a common phenomenon within government offices. The judge dismissed the argument, saying 5 cases don't prove this is a universal practice. He added, the government might choose not to indict some cases for now, but that doesn't mean such behavior is lawful. Sun's husband, Chris Hu, is also facing multiple charges, such as money laundering and bank fraud. On Monday, the couple again pleaded not guilty. The judge says the trial is scheduled for early next month and could last for 3 weeks. Reporting from Brooklyn, New York, Flora Hua, NTD News.
In Japan, a historic moment on Tuesday as Sanae Takaichi, leader of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party, was officially confirmed by the parliament as the nation's next prime minister. Following her confirmation, Takaichi met with Emperor Naruhito, who presented her with the official letter of appointment, marking her formal ascension as Japan's 104th prime minister. The appointment also signals the launch of a new coalition government between the LDP and the Japan Innovation Party.
Japan's new Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is moving forward with a cabinet made up entirely of ruling Liberal Democratic Party members. While the Japan Innovation Party supports her government, it does so from outside the cabinet in a collaborative role. Among the LDP appointees, Takaichi's final rival in the party leadership race, 44-year-old Shinjiro Koizumi, takes over as defense minister. Other contenders Yoshimasa Hayashi and Toshimitsu Motegi have been named ministers of Internal Affairs and Foreign Affairs. Minoru Kihara will serve as Chief Cabinet Secretary. The new cabinet is widely seen as strongly conservative. But challenges lie ahead. The LDP currently lacks a majority in both chambers of the parliament, making this a minority government.
The only way out of the political deadlock is an early election. Sanae Takaichi is popular with the public, so she could secure long-term stability if she dissolves the parliament by the end of this year or early next year and lead the LDP to win a majority.
Earlier this year, Takaichi visited Taiwan, meeting with President Lai Ching-te. In a speech during that trip, she called for Japan, Taiwan, and other democratic partners to establish a quasi-security alliance to bolster defense, economic security, and supply chain resilience.
I see her as a pro-U.S., anti-China, and Taiwan-friendly leader. Her cabinet is made up entirely of officials with strong anti-China views, likely to worry Beijing a lot.
Akio Yaita is a fellow alumnus of Japan's Matsushita Institute of Government and Management. He recalls that Takaichi was a well-known figure during her time at the school.
When she applied to this school, she rode a large motorcycle from Kobe to Tokyo. During her school years, she played heavy metal and drums, yet remained a very diligent student.
A protege of the late Shinzo Abe, Takaichi has long admired Britain's Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher. Now all eyes turn to the global stage. Prime Minister Takaichi is expected to attend the upcoming Asian Summit in Malaysia and the APEC conference in South Korea. She'll also host U.S. President Donald Trump in Tokyo next week.
And with Takaichi as Japan's new prime minister, what does that mean for the region? What changes could we see when it comes to the U.S. and China? We spoke with retired Marine Colonel Grant Newsham, senior fellow at the Japan Forum for Strategic Studies and author of the book When China Attacks, for his insight. Grant Newsham, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you back on the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, jumping straight in, now that Takaichi has secured the premiership, becoming the first female prime minister in Japan, she's hitting the ground running here. There's a lot happening. Actually, President Trump is expected to meet with her in just over a week, which is very rare. Normally, they would come to the United States. But what do you see as maybe the biggest changes that we can expect from her?
Well, I think the biggest change is you've got a leader, a potential leader in Japan. Often you have prime ministers. They don't really have the characteristics of what we would consider. They're more consensus sort of people. They're not very outspoken about anything. They seem to defer to their colleagues to tell them what to do, and they're almost a mouthpiece. But she is someone who has done a lot of study. She has clear ideas about policies she wants, about things that Japan needs to do, needs to have. And she's a big supporter of the U.S.-Japan relationship, of course. And now she has the chance to lead.
Well, speaking of different, we have articles like Forbes noting that Takaichi's rise has been watched with alarm in Beijing. So what is China watching out for? How is Japan likely to be different under Takaichi that would be concerning for something like Communist China?
All she's calling for is to say, let's make the military better. It misses recruiting targets by 20-25% every year. So it's about half the size it needs to be. Let's do something about that. Let's give the troops an actual pension. Now, they don't have one, which few people know. So let's just do these very commonsensical things to beef up Japan's defense, or just get it to where it, within sight of where it needs to be. And that's really all she's talking about in terms of being a sort of a hardcore nationalist. She's pretty big on a national health scheme in Japan, which most Republicans in America would consider practically a communist system. She's not a nationalist like they're using that term at all. She's just someone who likes her country and wants it to succeed.
Now, in terms of the U.S. side, we are seeing that President Trump is making a trip to Asia, but the White House isn't saying much, just that he's expected to go to Malaysia. He's, of course, meeting with Takaichi in Japan, and then supposedly will be meeting with Xi Jinping face-to-face on the sidelines of the APEC summit in South Korea. But in terms of the Japan meeting, what can we expect from this? You know, this will be the first time Takaichi and Trump are meeting as, you know, the heads of these two countries. Very important relationship in the region economically, but also on the security angle. Talk to us about what you're watching for with that meeting.
Well, I would like to see really what Mr. Trump does. Does he come in and demand Japan start spending more, complain about Japan free riding on the United States, or does he just come in to try and establish a relationship with Takaichi? You know, one thing about Takaichi is that she's no pushover. I mean, to get where she's gotten in this male-dominated world, you know, shows a certain toughness. And I don't think she's going to be back-footed or scared of President Trump at all. I think she'll come in and represent Japan's interests, and I think they'll get along pretty well. But as you've noted, a lot does depend on, you know, what's he like when he, you know, what sort of mood is President Trump in? Is he out for a fight, or is he just out to establish a relationship? But if he is out for a fight, I think you'll find he'll probably get one from Takaichi. But I expect a pretty sort of mild and sort of level sort of meeting between the two.
Definitely a lot to watch for here, for sure. Grant Newsham, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
We're glad to be here. Thank you.
An award-winning documentary is exposing a human rights atrocity described as a modern-day genocide. State Oregon's uncovers the Chinese regime's forced organ harvesting trade. A local counselor in the UK told NTD that even though the audience members will be shocked and horrified, more people need to know about it. NTD's Jane Wirrell reports from the UK.
A documentary that many say is hard to believe exposes the Chinese Communist Party's state-sanctioned forced organ harvesting.
It's a documentary, so it's real. A film wouldn't be, and you'd know that if you were watching it. But this is real. Despite knowing that people who attend will be shocked and horrified, they need to know.
2 screenings of the 2024 documentary State Organs were held in the Clark Foley Community Hub in Ilkley, Yorkshire. An international tribunal held in London in 2019 found there was clear evidence that forced organ harvesting has taken place in China for years on a significant scale and is still taking place. It found practitioners of the Buddhist school meditation Falun Gong were the primary victim group, with other persecuted minorities such as Uyghurs in the Xinjiang region, Tibetans, and house Christians also at risk.
It's not an easy subject for anyone to face up to and look, even as someone in the Western world that's quite far removed from it. But it's a modern day genocide. I'm proud that we've been able to show it here today in Ilkley, and I just hope that starts some conversations, because it's not even something that people have any. That's a common thread with people that I've spoken to, just not having any sort of knowledge of it.
It's not what happens in a civilised society, and I think the rest of the world, once this is well known, will indeed be very shocked. It's just not right. It's inhumane. It's good that people get the opportunity to see what's happening around the globe, and as this is in China.
Some audience members were moved to tears and hoped that more could be done to give a voice to those who can't speak up for themselves. Jane Wirrell, NTD News.
Coming up, Chinese criminals have defrauded Americans of more than $1 billion over the past 3 years, using phishing messages and fake government fees. Beijing tightens security, authorities trying to block citizens from flocking to the capital to demand justice as leaders convene for a key meeting. Plus, we zoom in on one unusual protest.
I have a lot of goats, 150 of them. A few of them have died. I still have some more that aren't here yet.
Welcome back to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The Department of Homeland Security sending out an alert. Chinese criminals have stolen over $1 billion from Americans over the past 3 years. How? Through phishing messages and phony government fees, including highway tolls. First, they send out thousands of scam text messages. Once targets click on the links in these texts, their passwords and credit card numbers would be stored on the scammers' database. And then the criminal groups would link Google and Apple wallets in Asia with this information. After that, their conspirators in the U.S. will use these wallets to buy everything from gift cards, iPhones to expensive products, then ship them to China. Officials from many states have asked their residents to take precautions against these phishing tactics. Yet one of them said they have no idea who is behind this criminal empire. According to research firm Cybersecurity Ventures, cybercrime cost the world $9.5 trillion in 2024. Now to our segment, China in Focus Insights, a closer look behind the headlines. As Beijing's top leadership convenes to map out plans for the next 5 years, petitioners, citizens demanding justice, have been flocking to Beijing to appeal to higher authority. These are the lines outside the agency responsible for hearing public complaints. Authorities have been trying to stop them and send them back. There are tens of thousands of them in China. Petitioners have usually suffered all kinds of mistreatment. One of them being local authorities demolishing their homes by force so that the local government can seize the homeowner's land and sell it for construction projects to make money. It's usually hard for petitioners to find justice through the legal system. And after failing to get justice at the local level, these people flock to Beijing every year to appeal to a higher authority. But they are often stopped halfway by officials or even get arrested for standing up for their rights. NTD spoke to a petitioner, and to protect his identity, we have distorted his voice.
The authorities are rogue. They just do whatever they want. The authorities have demolished some of the petitioners' homes. They've come here to appeal, but officials want to detain them.
In other news, over 100 goats gathering in front of a local government building in China's Shanxi province. Their owner, surnamed Zheng, sent them there to protest.
I have a lot of goats, 150 of them. A few of them have died. I still have some more that aren't here yet.
Zhang is demanding a reasonable compensation from local officials. He doesn't have a place to keep his goats now. Construction from a state-owned company damaged a local watercourse, flooding his goat farm. As a result, Zhang only received less than $300 as compensation. Chinese entrepreneurs are facing more than just tough markets. Many are now worried about something far more serious: sudden detentions by the Chinese Communist Party. Among the high-ranking managers of listed companies in China, at least one person has been arrested each week this year. Nearly 80% were accused of violating information disclosure rules. Critics say this is a vague charge that the CCP can use to go after whoever it wants. It's part of what Beijing calls an anti-corruption campaign. Some recent high-profile suicides among business leaders are casting a harsh light on the growing pressure. The so-called anti-corruption campaign has shifted from state-owned companies to the private sector, leaving the business community wondering who might be next. That's all for today's China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. If you have any feedback on the show or have something you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at chinainfocus@ntd.com. We'd love to hear from you. For on-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.